13. Okay. So we already answered. I don't even know if I'm set up to use this board. Welcome if you're just joining us watching. All right, so we've already answered part of these questions, but for my online friends, what's an intercept again? And when I give you this, equation in factored form like this, and I solve for x, so I get x equals right here 4 or -2. So the 4 would be the opposite of this. The -2 would be the opposite of this. These are the x-intercepts, right? Now if you don't remember what to do, so this is a lot less guided than the previous page. If you don't know what to do, here's steps 1 through 4. It tells you what to do. So step 1, locate the x-intercepts. The x-intercepts happen when you take the opposite of those two numbers, like we did right here. Then you graph them. So at 4, at -2. Now here's an algebraic way to figure out the x-intercept, or the axis of symmetry. Or you could simply look at your graph. What number is between those two? +1. So x equals 1 is the axis of symmetry. So step 1, locate the x-intercepts. Step 2, find the x value of the vertex, which is the same as the axis of symmetry. Step 3, find the y value of the vertex. So how do I find the y value? Where are we? I think we're at Marcus. If I know x equals 1, how do I find the y value? Okay, so to find the y value, so let's plug it in. So our equation's right there. 1 minus 4 would be a -3. 1 plus 2 is a +3. So it's down here at -9, which goes off the grid a little bit. From there, if you want to just graph it, you can. If you wanted to be a little bit more accurate, you could plug in 0. So you would get -4 times a +2. You would get -8. You could plug in 0 to get the intercept. That's not -8. But you don't have to. I really don't care. As long as you have those 3 points, your graph should come down, cross that. And it should keep going up. It should look like a U. They're not very pretty. But it should not look like a V. Yes. To get the 3's, I took my -1 and I plugged it into here. So not negative, 1 +1. So 1 minus 4 is -3. 1 plus 2 is +2. Any other questions with that one? Let's try it again then. Let's try part A. On your own, get as far as you can. Find the intercept, find the axis of symmetry, see if you can find the vertex. See how far you can get on part A. Hey, I am okay if you didn't get all the way through this problem. You haven't seen very many of these. But let's see what you do know. The first thing we do is we have to find P and Q, right? So in this case, P equals, and Q equals -6. Now what does that tell us? That tells us the location of the what? The x-intercepts. Good. So -2, -6. Then what? Right in between those is the what? Good. So we draw our axis of symmetry right in between. Now somewhere along this line is the vertex. In order to graph, all you need are 2 intercepts and a vertex. And then you could just throw the graph up there. So this is the line x equals what? Is it -4? All right, where are we? I think we are on Anna. How do I find the vertex if x equals -4? Good, so right here, -4 plus 2 times -4 plus 6. What is that? -2 times +2? -4, right here. You could find more points if you wanted to, but are you okay if we just connect those 3 and call it a day? I'm okay with that too. Locus problem. You know. We're supposed to hear that. What point? Sorry, I'm struggling here. What? The vertex? I plugged in -4, and -4 plus 2 is a -2. -4 plus 6 is a +2. Not necessarily. As long as you have these 3 points, I'm calling it good. You could find the y-intercept, and to do so, you would plug in 0 here and 0 here. And if you did, you would get 12, and 12's not even on the grid, it's up here, so it would have to, like, eventually get there. Let's try another one. Jump to part C. Find P, find Q, plug it in, find the axis of symmetry, try to find the vertex. See if you can do those things as far as you possibly can. Those are the x-intercepts. Okay. You're off. Okay. And then how do you? From there, that makes x equals -1. What do you do with that? Plug it into here? Yep. And then let's see what you get y to be. This one open up or open down? I think it should open up. It is positive. Let's see what happens. Okay. And so what's the equation is like? X equals -1. So then you multiply those two together and you get -4, right? Okay, so draw your next point at -4. And now just connect the two dots. And so you like together. Okay, so this is x equals -1, right? You plug in -1 here. So -1 minus -1. Should we not make it plug that in, so when you change it, will you get the wrong? You know when you try to find the, yeah, you plug it in. Okay, good points. All right, let's look at this. P is what? Where are we? I think we are at Courtney. P is what? Okay, Q is? All right, Mason, now what? Now what? What do we do next after we get the P and the Q? Okay, perfect. After we do that, cool. So right here, the middle is going to happen at x equals -1. Is that okay? How do I find, excuse me, how do I find the value of the vertex then? If I have x equals -1, Grayson. Grayson, I said that wrong. Sorry, Grayson. Keep going. Good. Plugging it in here, I get a -2. Plugging it in here, I get a +2. What do you do between those two numbers? You add them or subtract them or multiply them? Or divide them? You multiply, because that's a multiply right here. You multiply them, you get -4. So you plug it down here in -4. Once you have those 3 points, do you really need anything else? No. Could you find the y-intercept? Yes. Do you have to? I say no. And I kind of think what I say goes. So we're going to go with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Ish.
And we're done.
Let me call it a day for that problem. All right, I want to point out what's happening on part B really quick because it is kind of a special case. Is it easy to find P and Q on part B? Q is not too bad. Q is at 8. Because 8 would make this 0, right? What's going to make this one 0? Could we rewrite this as x minus 0? Because there's nothing with it, right? So what would make that 0? 0. So 0 is the P. Right here. Which is why we're doing it together.
How did we get 8 as the x for the first one?
Because if I had an 8, like it's the opposite of this. If I had an 8 right here, 8 minus 8 would be 0, so that's one of them. Let me show you again. So really what you're doing when you're taking the opposite, you're trying to figure out what could I plug in here to make this grouping 0. Well, if I plugged in 8 right there, would this grouping be 0?
Yeah.
That's one of them then. Now what could I plug in right here to make this grouping 0? Well, it's just a single term, right? So it would be 0. So that's my P and my Q. You look at each grouping, what could I plug in to make them 0? Which is the same thing as saying, what's the opposite of this? What's the opposite of this? Is that okay? All right, once you have 0, 8, what do you do?
Find the vertex.
Find the vertex. In order to find the vertex, we need the middle line, the axis of symmetry, which is what? X equals 4. What do we do with that x equals 4? Where are we? I think we're on Ashley. What do we do with that x equals 4? Good. So I've got a 4 here times 4 minus 8, -4. What do we get there? I don't feel like y'all are with me. Are you with me?
Yeah.
We get -16. Is -16 even on the grid?
No.
No. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change these to -2, -4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, -16, and now it's on the grid. Yeah. If it's just like one off the grid, I'll just like extend it down one. But if it's way low, then just change your scale. X is 4 is this line. So then let's, like the, something like that-ish. why don't you get out your homework? Let's try number 1. Let's see if we're all on the same page. I'm going to pause this for a second. All right, let's make sure we're on the right page, and then from here on out, I think we're just going to work on homework rather than working on notes, and that means you got less homework for later. Sound good?
Yeah.
Sugar? Okay, let's keep going. So what is the P and the Q here? Where are we? I think we're on Savannah. P and Q.
On 1?
Yep.
P is 3, and then Q is -1.
3, -1. Cody, next step.
So your vertex?
Yeah, axis of symmetry. Yeah. Which helps us get the vertex, but yeah. Keep going. Good. Okay, what else? Mackenzie. So 1 here, 1 here. Okay. So this would be down here at -4. Then what? Do we need anything else? Draw it. Making it look as much like a U as possible. Raise your hand if you got that. Now on your homework, sometimes, maybe not that one, let me keep looking. On all of them, are they all the same?
Go to 4.
Brilliant.
Go to 5. But what about 2? Because 2 has a negative on it.
2 has a negative in front of it. Let's see how this changes. Kara, what are the P and the Q's?
Positive 2, -4.
Positive 2, -4. Any questions with that? All right, Hannah, axis of symmetry.
Would that be -1?
Good. All right. Chance, next step.
Keys zero.
What's that?
Oh, you have to plug in like and then yeah.
Okay, sorry. I only told you to try number 1.
So that means you only have like 4 on homework?
Yeah, we're not, yeah, I don't know. Okay. Okay, so we're plugging in the -1 right here, right? So then you've got -3 here. Plugging in a 1 there. You get +3, and you still have that negative out front. So this negative does nothing except for it's going to change where the vertex is. At the very end, you'll multiply this whole thing through. Those negatives will cancel. You will get +9. Now, did we expect for it? Now, +9 is barely off the grid. I'm just going to put it right there. Did we expect for it to open down? Jason, why do I know just based on the problem, not based on anything else, but based on this right here, how do I know that it's opening down?
A is negative.
A is negative right here, right? Because A is negative, we're expecting it to open down. We found all of our points. Is it in fact opening down? Yes. And so we are done. Now let's look at number 4 because it is a special case. Now we saw something like this in the notes. But because you have questions, I will answer. I like to be accommodating like that. Number 4. Number 4. There also is an example like 3 in the notes. So if you get confused on number 3, look at your notes. Number 4. What is P? What is Q? Susanna. They are both -2, which means this has to be the what? Vertex. So I'm not going to be able to use intercept or vertex or whatever to get my 3 points. I have to find something else. What did we do in the notes to find the other 2 points? There's one more point that we could find that's relatively easy to find. The y-intercept. How would I find the y-intercept? The y-intercept happens when x is 0. So to find the y-intercept, we plug in 0 here, we plug in 0 here. What do we get? 4. 4, because I've got 2 times 2, so the y-intercept is 4. Now if I know the y-intercept, can I find one more point? Because this part of the graph is pretty done, like that. I need one more point though. 2. This is 2 away from it. This is 2 away from it. That would have to be my last one, right? Does that make sense, how you would use your y-intercept to give you just one more piece of information? Okay, cool. Sorry, what? I'm sorry. Yes, thank you, yes. Now let's look at, notice number 5. I will do one with these, and then if you want more, we got to head back to our notes. Notice on number 5, this is not its factored form. Do you know how to get it into factored form? You just maybe don't know that you know, but you know. What did we played a game. Last unit, I told you this would come back. You have to be able to do it. In order to get this, you sound like your fingernails are being pulled off. You're fine. In order to get this to factored form, we have to play the game. So we are looking for two numbers that multiply to what? Britt, fill it out for me. 8. Multiply to 8 and add to 6. On your own, find two numbers that multiply to 8 and add to 6. 4 and 2. Can we take the shortcut?
Yeah.
Yes, why?
Because there's an X over there, not another.
Yeah, this leading coefficient's a 1, so we can jump straight to the shortcut. You told me 4 and 2?
Yep.
So how is this different than the first 4 questions? You have to factor it. After that, it's identical.
Oh my goodness.
Okay? So you should already know how to do that. What's P and what's Q? Negative 4, negative 2. Axis of symmetry? Negative 3, right in the middle. What else do you need? The vertex, so you plug in negative 3. Now you could plug it in here, or you could plug it in here. Which one do you think is going to be easier? Probably the factored, because you can just add these quick, right? Negative 3 plus 4 is a 1 times negative 1. And we notice how these numbers are often the same, or always the same, right? Every time these have been the same, except for 1 was negative sometimes. We plug that in, we get negative 1. So my vertex is here. Do we have to find anything else? No. The y-intercept, I mean, if this was 0 and this was 0, it would be up at 8. That's clear off the grid. So just make sure it doesn't touch the intercept, something like that. So the process is almost identical. You just have to factor it yourself. Do you want to try one more factoring? Number 6? Number 6, it has to add to, multiply to what?
Add to.
Multiply to negative 3, add to 2. Negative 1, positive 3. I'm not going to do any more than that, but there you go. So go ahead and work on number 6, work on that front page. There is one more thing I'd like to do with you, and then I need to tell you which problems we're doing, which ones we're not. Thanks for watching. Peace out. Have a good day.